Hello again, fellow seekers. I appreciate you joining me on another video of my personal faith walk, my own road to redemption. This week, we are talking about my sixth class, and this class is Hebrew Prophets. And let's start with this. If I look back going to church, and I try to remember the last time that there was any sermon that was done about any of the Hebrew prophets, Isaiah, Jeremiah, and again, Lamentations is not really folded in there, Ezekiel, Daniel, and then you go through the minor prophets, Hosea all the way to Malachi. I can't remember one. So I went into this class not knowing a lot specifically about the Hebrew prophets, and honestly, I'd never heard of anybody doing a book study on Isaiah. It's almost like Isaiah is just used as a cross-reference from the New Testament when Jesus speaks and pulls one of the verses from Isaiah. And then you look back and you read Isaiah. And again, those verses kind of just are limited to somewhere between 53 to 62-ish. What people label the suffering servant. So I was super interested in this. There were some real challenges with this class, so let me tell you what I did. This class is a senior level class. And I found out somewhere along the lines that sometimes the senior level classes you have to sit and wait until there's enough people to attend. So as a sophomore level, I asked them to put my senior level classes ahead so that way if I couldn't take them, they would just schedule another one. And if I could take them, they would throw me in. So the first interesting thing is that, I'm in with people who are taking their last couple classes. They're on their way out. And the other thing that was really, really interesting about this class is they turned it on and they let us take it when there was only two of us. So it was me and this other guy taking this class and then the teacher. And I'm not going to mention the teacher's name. But this was the best class I've had to date so far, bar none. And it was really because the teacher just picked up the slack. When you do your attendance, you have to post to somebody else. And I'm very much a turn all my work in on Monday and hope that people put their stuff in on Monday and I can post with them so I can get my attendance done. And I want you to know how little that actually happens. But the teacher, he was on it. He would post like 3 or 4 things that we could just respond to. And interacting with a teacher who had to be at least 15 years a minister and kind of talking through some of the theology as we were going through it, this was a powerful class. Just an insanely powerful class. And, I would encourage any Christian at this point to start thinking about reading some of the prophets. A lot of them tell very similar stories. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. They're talking about social injustice and how the Israelites need to stop their social injustice and start following God's commands. However, just between me and the camera here, I focused a lot on Jeremiah, a boatload on Jeremiah. Every opportunity I got to quote, read, or cite Jeremiah, I did. And for me, Jeremiah speaks to me personally. In his writing, you can tell that he's tired, he's persecuted, he feels a little like Eeyore from the Winnie the Pooh. He's doing what he's supposed to be doing, but it doesn't stop him from having a little bit of grumbling about it. I can't even tell you how often I do that same thing. And I did my final in this class on Jeremiah 29, which the interesting thing about Jeremiah 29 is it's basically, verses 1 through 23. It can almost be summed up in like one verse. And, I had to write this big old long paper on it, but a lot of people read that as prosperity preaching. And I don't think that that's what that verse is saying at all. And if you're reading the Bible and you're coming away with, if I pray for a jet, I'm getting a jet, I would encourage you to spend a little bit more time reading the entire canon, just because it doesn't seem to talk a lot about prosperity preaching. And as far as one of the other things that I got out of it too is, I want to say it's Jeremiah 27. Give me a second. It might be. And the reason I want to bring this up is because, now I'm kind of moving on to studying something else. I think I'm on to Peter. And I couldn't believe how much. Oh, it's Jeremiah. The entire part of Jeremiah 29 is the letter to the exiles. Jeremiah writing out to the people who were exiled in Babylon. One of the most important things about that is it talks about how people who are basically slaves, God commands them to pray for their enslavers and to still do good while they're enslaved and to still follow their commands so that other people will see them and want to be like a part of the club, so to speak. They're going to be like, you're in the most miserable situation and look how happy you are. And when you read Peter, and Peter really seems to, people say that Peter disagrees with Pauline theology, and I don't know if I agree with that. I think that Peter would definitely say something like, I agree with justification by faith. I just want Christians to know for sure that your salvation comes with suffering, that you are going to suffer as a Christian. And ideally, you need to think of yourself as a pilgrim, not bound in this world, and a living stone while you're suffering. And your hope is in the salvation that's Jesus Christ. So what I want you to think about when you come away from this is, if you're a Christian, are you living out your faith in such a way that somebody else wants to have what you have? They want to have the hope that is Christ in you. Are you living it out, or are you just praying because you're suffering? And for me, it's really revelatory. I really have to change my mindset that there is so much joy in what I'm doing because of the relationship I have with Christ. So I encourage you to give that some thought. That is, all you're praying for is for God to fix your suffering problems, or are you praying just for that relationship with Christ? And can you find a way to be like the Israelites in exile, so joyous and praying for your enslavers that somebody on the outside looking in would say, I want to be where they're at because I have everything and I'm miserable. And you have nothing and you're a slave to us and you're full of joy. So on that note, I'm going to wrap it up. I am going to do another book review. My last book review went over great, so I'm going to do another one. And like always, I encourage you to like these videos, to subscribe, to share them, please. And if you feel so compelled, to donate to my cause. And thanks for now. God bless you and keep you.